Hello and welcome to HTC's podcast. We are here to shine a light on Hybrid's toughest characters and relive our most memorable moments. I'm Chris.
And I'm Deacon.
Let's start this thing.
Let me just say one thing. If you put any man, woman, child, or animal in front of me on a mat, I'm gonna take them too. HTC, best team in Australia.
Awesome. Let's have a chat about what we just saw, boys. All right, one of my favourite fights of all time. I'm pretty amped up. So, Trossy, fill us in, mate. Tell us about this story. What an epic fight.
Yeah, so this fight was on a promotion called Brace for War. I think it was like my third or fourth MMA fight. It was over in Sydney at Luna Park. I was 19, I think.
You're just a baby Tross.
Just a baby. And I was at featherweight, so it was my first cut to featherweight. So, like I was saying before, used up all of my discipline in that one weight cut. And that weight cut was tough. 66, I was walking around at probably 76.
And what did you say about the weigh-ins as well? Sorry, like when they're delayed and you're fucked.
Oh yeah, I like to think of myself as, not too much of an arsehole. But when I'm cutting weight and they're taking forever with the weigh-ins, I'm yelling at everyone. I'm yelling at the commission, I'm yelling at the promoter, I'm yelling at everyone. I'm like, hurry up! That's when I'm at my peak anger.
Peak of anger.
Yeah,
it's funny. I know the feeling. Like I love Zach and Jacob. They're awesome. And every time the Legion weigh-ins on, I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be a bit later. Oh, so yeah.
Like, hurry up! Let's not.
Yeah, that's why I don't cut too much weight, because I know I'm gonna be miserable up there waiting around for too long. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, this stylistically was a cracker of a fight, and this is probably honestly this fight might have been the forming of the first Church of Tross. This is when I had the message pre-written out. I was there and I was sitting next to Kiri Lee back at the old gym, and I'm writing out like congratulations. I was certain you'd won it, and when they called the other guy's name out, split decision. I've just spoiled the end of it, of course, but that's all right. Everyone's gonna see the fight. I lost my little mind. I was ready to go riding. I wanted to smash windows. I was so angry. I was so pissed off. So I guess that's the terming of the term, like the first time Tross was ever used. You were Trossed out of that.
I got Trossed.
You got Trossed.
Well, I'm the master at losing split decisions. So
judges hate you. You get treated.
Judges hate me.
Like
the feeling's mutual. So
that's probably why you kind of get treated by judges like Trump by the media. You're like the Trump of judging decisions here. You're never going to win one.
Make judging great again. But so I fought it was funny fighting at Luna Park because you're walking through the fight, everyone's amped up. Me and Tricky were fighting.
Yeah,
so
right.
We're walking through, but there's all these like kids playing at like merry-go-rounds and like all the fair stuff. So yeah, you're walking through a fair to fight, but the actual Luna Park, it's actually a really good place to fight at. But yeah, so fighting at 66, my first fight at 66, I remember thinking, this guy can't hurt me. I can take his shots. Turns out I was wrong.
Yeah.
First time I've ever had abs though as well, so...
Yeah, that's a win. That's a win. He probably thought the same thing though. He's probably like, a 19-year-old can hurt me. And that's why it became such a fun fight.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Like, you said you got nominated for Fight of the Year, you got Fight of the Night.
Fight of the Year, Fight of the Night. But yeah, it was funny because that's why I say now I'm like, I was a schoolboy. I was a boy fighting men. I learnt through fighting. Like I had my first fight after less than a year of training, and I was straight into fighting. So I didn't know what I was doing. So basically, I learnt to fight through fighting. And I was always a boy fighting men. But that's why I'm confident these days, because now I'm the man. Like I'm 30. I've got all the experience. So the game has changed, but the players are the same.
What about you, Dick? What do you think? You're sitting there like a bump on a log. You seem pretty amped up about that, watching it. You seem pretty excited. You saw a lot of overhands.
Yeah, I knew Tross was tough, but yeah, he's a tough bastard.
Yeah.
Deacon finally respects me now.
Yeah, it's taken a bit, He might actually be cool.
Might actually be cool. So let's go back to round one. All right. So round one, you thought before you just watched that back then that you didn't win round one. I thought you got the win in that. Those leg kicks were massive. You had his eye fucked up. Not saying it wasn't competitive. It was very competitive, but I think you got the better end of that first round. I think you landed cleaner, bigger shots. Missed a few big shots, but You know, that's what I think.
Well, yeah. Well, the main perception I have of that fight is how I felt. Like, I felt like it was a big weight cut, so I felt like at the start of the fight, I was like, oh, I was really feeling it. And then in the last round, you're lucky as a fighter when you get this kind of feeling. You're just loving every second of it. Love it. There's blood. Like I always say, I don't care whose blood it is. Mine, there's blood in a fight. You want the more blood, the better. And I don't care whose it is. But for that fight, when we were both bleeding the last round, the crowd was going nuts. Like, my energy picked up. Like, I got my second wind in the third round, so I think that's why I thought, like, oh yeah, he won the first half, and then I won the second half.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Was this fight the first MMA fight you had after having a kickboxing fight that Priska stitched you up with? Telling you it was a pillow fight, you were going to be fine?
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
Yeah, and then you came back and you're like, I think I should learn how to leg kick.
Oh yeah, but that's another story, but I'll quickly go into that. Me and Rob, we got offered these kickboxing fights. 2 weeks notice. I was fat, really fat. And then we got told they were at these weights, and the promoter's like, yeah, you know, you'll fight guys with their first kickboxing fights because you guys are MMA guys. I'm like, okay. And they asked Priscus about it. He goes, of course take it. It's a pillow fight. You got these big gloves on. And then it turns out we get there to the weigh-in, and the promoter's like, you can either have a cornerman or $50 each. And we were like, obviously $50 each. So then we just flew there, and then we're at the weigh-in, and our opponents weren't there, and they're like, oh yeah, we've actually got these new guys for you to fight. And we're like, what the fuck? And then, so anyways, I ended up fighting a guy who was 6-0 in kickboxing, and Rob ended up fighting a guy with like 14 fights who had a state title. And both of them at different weights, but the promoter basically told Rob, you just have to cut as much weight as you possibly can. So we had him in the bathtub, as hot as it could go, and we were basically cooking Rob. So then we had these fights, kickboxing fights. We both lost. We fought well though, but yeah.
Neither of you got knocked out though, which is pretty fucking impressive for two MMA guys. And I know that you'd never done a kickboxing class at that stage. So
Yes.
teaching kickbox, I'd never seen you there.
Yeah.
And so when I first got to know you, and I was actually, you came into the boxing class, and I'm trying to learn the box, pay attention. You and Simo were there going crazy. And then when I heard you were going to have a fight, I'm like, this kid's got no chance. He's in no danger of winning. I thought he's cooked.
You're
and
right.
then afterwards, you're like, after your first two MMA fights, you just pummeled people, spear tackled them, pummeled them. I'm going to start watching this guy. There's something to him. And then I got to watch you fight Gilston in a Muay Thai fight, and then that's when I became a bit of a fan. And then this one really sold me. I said, this is when I became the Pope of the first Church of Tross. This was it. It was just epic. It was epic. Now, on that, as we entered into the second round, so at the end of the first round, you were bleeding through nose and mouth. You said you were starting to inhale a bit of that too, right? It was going down the throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So real fight. You got the taste of blood.
Yeah.
He was getting uglier by the second as well. The swelling's starting to come on. All that sort of stuff. Tell me about second round.
Well, that's like we were just talking about when we watched it. You learn so much in competition and in fights. That's where everything comes together, and you learn exactly what works and what doesn't. There's no bullshit in fights. It's like exactly what works. My jab was hurting him a lot.
Yeah.
So I remember my jab cut him. It was actually my jab that gave him the mouse over the eye to start with.
Yeah.
Like I just kept on jabbing him on that side of the face. So that's why I learned, like, in MMA gloves, your jab is scary. Like, you got to stab that in. And then he broke my nose. And it was only because I remember thinking, he can't hurt me. It's a featherweight. And he just went boom, right on the tip of my nose. And you see me kind of go back a little bit. And I remember, like, my vision just went black for a bit. And then I was fine after that. It kind of hurt. But I was pumped. So I was having a good time. So it didn't hurt that much.
Didn't hurt that much. Okay, fair enough.
It didn't hurt my spirit.
Didn't hurt your spirit. That's the main thing.
Going back to the jab, that's like a thing you used to always talk about, right? Like, you want to jab that they'll respect. Is that where you got it from? Like,
No. I got it from Mark Totham. You know, really? Shout out to Mark Totham. Right? Well, he'll never hear this though. He lives down south. He probably hasn't got electricity. He's down there blacksmithing. Actually, you were talking about Skyrim earlier. He's the guy in the blacksmith shop in Skyrim. He's never going to hear this. He's man. That dude was tough. He was scary. So his trainer George. We're going to get George on here one day. And yeah, Mark Totham said, "Yo," he's like, "Jab, jab, pop with your jab, pop, pop." And then afterwards he pulls me aside and he's like, well, I'll have a round with you. You know, you got to get that jab moving more. And then I was kind of like throwing these jabs out and he's like, nah, it's got to be scarier than that. If you jab like that, I'm going to headbutt it out of the way and KO you. I'm like, oh shit, this guy's terrifying. And he goes, if you don't have a good jab, I do not respect you at all. Like, at all. I'm like, oh, Christ. But then, as I said, I learned that trick to actually say when I'm jabbing, I'm like, pop! And it actually worked. It was like a magical spell. So, yeah, I've been preaching that for a long time. Been preaching that for ages. Yeah, that's one of those best lessons I've ever learned, I think. So, yeah, shout out to Mark Toffin. But
He's the man.
yeah, he was the man, wasn't he? Yeah, absolutely. So we've gone through round 1, round 2, a lot of leg kicks. Far more overhands than jabs thrown, funnily enough, though.
Yeah.
How many overhands do you reckon you landed?
20%.
20%, which is still like more overhands than anybody's ever absorbed. He was a tough dude. Like like I said, like I was obviously upset at the time. I was a young boy. I mean, my freshly coronated hero just gets ripped off a decision, but you can't not love and respect Josh. Like that dude was tough.
He was seen as like almost like a pioneer of Australian MMA back in the day because not many people had fought in MMA fights at that time.
Yeah, wow.
So
yeah.
like I remember even back then people were like saw my ears and were like, what's wrong with your ears? Like people didn't even know what cauliflower ears were, like even that long ago, especially in Tasmania and Australia. But and he'd fought internationally as well. But it just shows experience. Like when you've been through certain situations before in fights, when you've been hurt, when you've been rocked, when you've been hit to the body hard, when the fight's not going your way, if you've experienced that before, then the next time you experience that, you've already been there before, so you can think through it. And that's a huge thing with fighting, like getting through that adversity. Watch like the top fighters. They'll get dropped, they'll get beaten up the first round, they'll come back and win. But not many people can do that. That's actually a really rare skill to have.
Yeah.
And this guy's the worst guy that I know, but Tom Ackley, he's the kind of guy who's just so tough and he's always trying to win. It doesn't matter what position he is in a fight, he's never not trying to win. And that's why he's been so dominant in the welterweight division in Australia. Because not his last fight, but the fight before that, he got dropped in the first round bad and ground and pound on the ground. Most people would either be having a nap or quitting.
Yeah.
But he rose from the dead, came back and won that fight. Yeah. And that was like one of the most impressive. Tom has done a lot of impressive things, but that was one of the best things I've seen. And that comes from like experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, speaking of experience, like we can definitely edit out all of the nice things you've said about Tom just so he doesn't hear it. I think that's really important for your yin-yang relationship here. These roots go deep. You know, like he is absolutely your opposite. He's won all the split decisions. You've lost all the split decisions.
He's handsome.
You're not.
I'm not. Abby thinks I am though, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's right. That's it. AI do too. Mark Menzie does. Shout out Mark Menzie. Yeah, no, absolutely, my friend. And I could tell at the end of the fight. So after the third round, like he obviously beat his legs up. He was ugly. You were pretty beat up too. When the scorecards were getting read out, I noticed that when the first judge called his name out, he gave it a little bit of a head shake. I don't truly think he might have thought he won that fight. Obviously it was close, very competitive and an all-time classic, but you know, I still to this day believe you won that.
Well, that's why there's a few decisions I've been hard done by where it really hurt because you both feel in a fight the energy.
Yeah.
You both feel who's winning. You know if you're not winning. Like there's an energy there and you can feel it. And there's been like a couple of decisions that I've won and I know that they didn't think they won. And it was just because in that fight, I know I rocked him a lot. Like I hit him really hard a couple of times. But you can feel that energy there.
Yeah.
And he was kind of shaking his head. But you know what? He fought really well. He took my best shots. He stayed pretty calm and composed. And I was putting his combinations together. Broke my fucking nose.
Oh, and the photos that you guys put up, like when you were like doing sightseeing in Sydney afterwards, and you couldn't open your eyes, they're so good. What we should do is when we release this, we should probably put those photos up.
I've got
somewhere. Please.
I look like I had Down syndrome. I did.
Yeah, it wasn't your most flattering look, that's for sure. But it's funny because like Tricky and Rob are like having the best time, and you're not seeing anything.
I had an ice pack on my face the whole time, and then I remember after the fight, Jens Pulver was there randomly. I was telling
Little
you
evil Pulver.
Jens Pulver, and he came up to me and he goes, And he got my details and he goes, "Come up and train with me. I want to train you." And then I went out with him for a little bit and like, I think I got an ice cream with him. But then I went home. I think we're going to go out for beers, but I'm like, look at my fucking face. And then, so that was kind of cool. And then we hung out in Sydney for like the next day. And then we went to the airport and I was wearing sunnies. And I got to the airport and then the woman there when I was checking in was like, "Oh, can you lift up your sunnies?" And I'm like, "Okay." I lift up my sunnies. And she's like, "We cannot let you fly like that." And then I had to wait. Everyone went home and I had to wait in Sydney for like, because I had to go see a doctor, but it was like a Sunday, so I couldn't get in. So then I had to wait in Sydney. Lucky my older brother lived there, but I had to wait in Sydney, let the swelling go down for like 2 or 3 days, and then I could fly home.
That's an epic fight. You see, that's an epic fight. Like when you're so beat up, you're not even allowed on a plane to go home. Yeah,
and all you want to do is go home.
Yeah. Did you leave it all in the cage? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, of course you bloody did. Yeah, it was amazing. Cross, I had another question a second ago. I've totally forgotten it now. I'm hoping it comes back to me. I thought it was going to be intriguing. So yeah, obviously, that was right. Yeah. Other thing I loved about Josh too is after the fight, you don't see it on the video that's on Fight Pass here that we'll share the link to as well, but his interview post-fight was great because there was a big crowd there. Like, how many people were there? It was like thousands, right?
It was pretty packed.
Because it sounded big. Like, I was obviously watching it at the gym and it sounded like a lot of people. You couldn't see the crowd. They weren't too impressed with the decision, but it was really cool, I think, the way that the announcer as well as Josh sort of managed that a bit. Because the first couple of seconds, Josh won me over because I was like angry that he just sort of got the decision. But then, like, instead of like answering the questions, he's just looking at himself in the camera, like poking his eye, going, "Oh yeah, not too impressed, eh?" I remember that line. I was like, actually, this dude's all right. And then when he got the crowd to give you a round of applause, I was like, yeah, you know what, bugger, he's cool. He's a gangster. And it takes two to tango.
It was I think I hit him with the bigger shots, but I think he was more composed and landed more combinations. So like, that was actually a fight that I was upset with the decision, but I didn't actually think it was unfair. Yeah. I was like, oh no, you could have given it to him, could have given it to me. I think I landed the bigger shots, but he busted me up as well. And he was just a really awesome guy. Like, he was just like really humble, really kind. His family came out to me after the fight. I was talking to his family and stuff. When I saw him after the fight and he was showering and there was lots of blood and stuff. Yeah. But he was actually just a really good guy, and I've still got a really good relationship with Josh. He's awesome. Yeah,
that's cool as, man. Like, I think you do form a bond when you're sharing like so much pain and effort with somebody who's put already a ton of pain and effort into like a fight camp. And you know, I mean, all of us that have taken up martial arts and decided to compete, we're fighting some demon. You know, there's something that we're trying to find out about ourselves, and when you've got like a willing dance partner like that, like, the match aside, like, the things that you learn about yourself are really important, I think, in there. And you know, so you've always got that to thank them for. Yeah, you know, exactly. That's what I believe in that really strongly. So, you know, people that come into like, you know, into here, and they're always nervous when they first walk through the door. Then they talk to about 2 or 3 people and they're like, "Oh, everyone here's really nice." And I'm like, yeah, absolutely we are. And I think you find that for most martial arts, and people who actually compete, people who train hard and push each other through hard things and tell each other the truth. I believe they form strong bonds, and they're peaceful people. They're peaceful people. Yeah, they know who they are. So yeah, that's where I'm at with all of this. And, well, if you think about us three, when we're ready to compete, there's no stone left unturned. Like, we're ready to roll. Like, we will train our asses off. We do everything right. So as soon as the fight comes down, I used to always have the mindset like, how good do you feel before a fight when you've tapered and you've done a whole fight camp? Like, you feel like a superhero. So if you can take my best shots, then I've got so much respect for people that can. Yeah. And like that guy, like Josh, he took some really hard punches. You can hear some of those punches. They're literally like cracking a coconut. Yeah. And he was talking to me. He's like, good shot. And you broke your thumb. Broke my thumb. Yeah. I wonder if he broke anything. See, you can't really tell, but that's flat there. Yeah,
you can tell.
Split the knuckle. Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
That's why I'm not very good at piano. Also, I've never actually played piano.
That might have more to do with it. And Deacon, like, normally, like, with an MMA fight, I'd like to, like, you know, get your opinion on the grappling. Wasn't a lot of that, was there?
No, there wasn't much grappling at all. A couple shots, though.
Half-hearted.
Yeah, but even me, you know, you don't really want to see the grappling. You want to see Tross banging.
Yeah,
that's what the people want to see.
Deacon doesn't want to see terrible technique with the grappling. He just wants to see.
Makes him cringe. It upsets him. He starts rocking backwards and forwards.
Did you do rugby before
Yeah, rugby. I played rugby for about 6 years.
6 years.
So
So
I'll-
did you get cauliflower ears from rugby?
My first one.
Yeah, your first
But it
one.
wasn't
so you're
like-
already a bad man before.
Well, it wasn't actually like it was like my ear blew up, so it was a cauliflower technically, but I didn't have cauliflower ears.
Yeah,
like
it
I
was
blew
like
up.
swollen, right?
Yeah, and that was the only time I've ever been knocked out was in a rugby game.
Really?
Yeah, there was this big, I think it was number 8, the best guy on the team, ran through everyone, and I was playing fullback, and I remember
Yeah,
I'm like, I got him, and I got this huge run up, and like we both ran to each other full pelt, and I just remember like. Well, I can't really remember it that well. I just remember like running into him full pelt. But what happened was, well, this is what other people told me. What happened was his forehead like hit me in the side of the jaw. It was like that, like a high tackle.
Yeah.
And I just fucking was like, I was only out for a second, but then I like woke up, fell over, fucking walked off the field, and that was the only time I've ever been knocked out. Was in a rugby game.
Yeah, well, okay. Only time I've ever been knocked out was motorbike accident. I remember flying through the air. I remember hitting the ground, then kind of waking up, realising I was winded. I remember that, and then it was all foggy after that.
It's not as bad as people are like when you watch a fight, you see the fight, and you're like, when people get dropped, you're like, oh, and in your mind, you're like, oh, that must hurt. But when I got dropped against Jake Lund, I remember I was fighting, and then I was just looking up the lights, and I'm like, oh, I got dropped, and then I got back up. But it wasn't bad at all. I'm like, I was looking at him, then I was looking up the lights, and then I was all good. So it's not painful.
I remember when I had a Muay Thai fight and I got dropped and then it just got straight back up. I didn't even notice it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That was a good fight.
That was, and we were in your corner for that.
I wouldn't go that far.
That's actually something that we haven't touched on today. Is
Deacon's a Muay Thai fighter.
Deacon has struck. He has struck, and we've both known Deacon since before he was dangerous. Like, he couldn't even choke his own lizard back then. Like, now he's flying around the world. He's tearing people's knees apart. He's
How many MMA fights have you had? 2.
No, one MMA, one Muay Thai.
Yeah, and man, it was cool to be in your corner for that one because you were actually quite coachable.
It was a bit of a stitch up though, to be fair.
Oh yeah, Shaw stitched you up royally.
Was it
mate.
me,
You'll be
you and
fine.
Shaw?
Shout out to Shaw, but he definitely.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll put you in on this Muay Thai fight. You've got an MMA fight the month after, and then no one coached me. I'd hardly been to Muay Thai, and I actually got privates off Priscus of all people to learn Muay Thai.
I remember a week before the fight, I was in the gym and I was like, "Oh, you been hitting pads?" And you're like, "No." And I'm like, "You want to hit some pads then?" But it was like.
Yeah, but no one told me. I didn't know the process. You know what I mean?
You didn't even know the rules.
No, I kept getting in trouble because I kept trying to judo head throwing, hip toss over the ropes. Yeah.
And this motherfucker had one fight at the bus mall, and then he's like, Muay Thai, let's go.
Ready
Was that
to
before
go.
the fight at the bus mall? Or?
I was after. I was season 3.
Seasoned. It's so good. I love it. Now, before we do wrap this thing up, though, because I know you're going to be you're the man of a million stories, Trusty. Man of a million stories. I reckon we should let you choose which fight that we're going to do in our next episode that you come back on for. So, just to whet the appetite, what fight do you think we should cover next when we bring you back?
I don't know. I think the Joe Bradley one was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, because I've got some stories about that. I played up royally. I reckon we should definitely save that for an episode.
Were you in the crowd? I was there. I remember going with my dad to watch it.
I wasn't in the crowd, but Dan Hyatt thought I was.
Did it?
Yeah, I'll save that off for that episode.
Yeah,
It was that was a wild night. I was very hungover the next day. Yeah, we should save that for an episode.
The word on the street is the cage has never been the same.
That's right. I remember that in the photos after. That was epic. But yeah, Trusty, thanks so much for your time today, man. It's been awesome to get you to fill us in about the story. We'll put the fight up for everybody as well. I think it's important for people to see these things. Like Hybrid Training Centre's been around for a fair while now, and man, like we've had some of the best fights throughout all of Australia, I think, come out of our little gym from Tassie. So yeah, we're going to dig these people up, drag them in here, get the stories. You, I am sure, are going to be a repeat offender here.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a blast. This is going to be cool.
Well, that's an important thing about this, I think, is just like all the up-and-comers in Tassie, the narrative that a lot of people will tell you is, oh, you need to go somewhere else, you need to do this, you need to do that. But like, you can get good wherever you are. And we've had heaps of good athletes come out of Tasmania in every sport and combat sports as well. We've got Rob, who's a world champion, coming out of Tasmania. And we've got heaps of like really good athletes in Tassie. So just because you're from Tasmania, it doesn't mean that you can't make it on the big show. Like, it's all about you. What are you doing? Are you putting in the work? Are you being disciplined? Are you surrounding yourself with the right people? Like, some of the best training you ever do is by yourself. Find a gym, find somewhere that will give you the right direction, and then it's all up to you. Like, there's too much like blaming other people for other things. It's all up to you at the end of the day. Yeah, and you know, we didn't get to tell any crazy security stories, but maybe next time we will.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward to those. That'll be fun. But that's a really nice positive note to end on, man. So, yeah, no, thank you from Deacon and myself. Anything you want to say, Deeks, before we close this thing up, mate?
Nah, you're still a gimp.
Oh, mate, that's awesome. Still a gimp. Well, anyway, big love to you all. Thank you so much. That's our first episode. I hope it comes out all right. And when we put this up, please put suggestions down for people and for fights that you want to see in the future, and we'll see if we can dig them up and bring them down to the basement here and, you know, have a bit of a chat.